We are back for another live, and today is one of my favorite topics, moderation. I was very obsessed with moderation for basically all of my drinking, and I really wanted to learn how to do it. I was very desperate to keep alcohol in my life, and I wanted to figure out a way to moderate and drink like everybody else, so I love talking about it. Also, it's a miracle today that I have makeup on, just to give a little personal update before we talk about moderation. I have been working for myself for the past year, and I also teach part-time at a college in Boston, and I'm on summer break from teaching, so now I'm just doing my actual job of working for myself, but I don't have to go anywhere. And so it's hard for me to get dressed and put on makeup, and I've been really struggling with that this summer. And if you are in my meetings, I am such a bum in there. Initially I felt bad, and then I was like, they've seen it so many times, they've got to be desensitized to it. But I did put on makeup for everybody today, so there you go. Something I'm working on. And school starts again, I guess in 5 or 6 weeks. So then I'll be more normal, and I'll have to put on business clothes and everything else. But that is my fun update. And I'm going to Hawaii next week. So that's another fun update. So keep an eye on my stories if you like Hawaii posts. I've never been, so we'll see. I am so sad about leaving Rudy Patootie. I think he's going to be really lonely, but my mom is babysitting him, so he'll be okay. But we're talking moderation today. So as I'm talking, if you have any questions on moderation or anything else, just let me know in the comments. Question about what do I do? So I am a full-time podcaster. So thank you for listening to the ads on my show. Every time you listen, you can imagine me getting a tiny bit of money for it. So I appreciate you listening to them. And I have a community, and that takes a lot of my time. We do meetings, and I run a podcast network. So some of your other favorite sober podcasts might be in my network. And if they have ads running on their show, that may be because I got them to sponsor. So that's kind of my role. So I have 6 other shows in my network, and there's a highlight bubble on my page that has all the shows that you can check out, and maybe you'll discover a new podcast that you like. But basically what I do is I help them with marketing. So I promote their shows for them. I try to help us share listeners and get them opportunities to guest on other shows, and I get them sponsors, so they don't have to have the stress of trying to find sponsors. That's all my stress, because if there are no sponsors, I don't get paid for my work. So those are my jobs. And then I also teach chemistry at a college in Boston. That's my side hustle. So that was a lifelong dream, too, that I achieved. So I'm very proud of that. And we have a milestone in the comments. 3 months. That is amazing. Congratulations on 3 months. I'm so proud of you. That is one of the biggest milestones, I think, in my opinion, because there's a lot of mental benefits around that point. And if you listen to my podcast tomorrow, I'm talking about the cognitive benefits of quitting drinking and how your cognition heals and improves with more sober time. And around 2 to 3 months, you see a lot of benefits. So I hope that you are feeling amazing. I hope you feel like your brain has turned back on and you can use your full cognitive power now. And if you're interested in that, make sure to check out my podcast tomorrow morning for that episode. But your 3-month milestone is also the first time that I went back to drinking, because a lot of people, when they get to 3 months, they're feeling so good and they've been doing this for a while and maybe it doesn't feel as hard anymore. And you wonder, like, can I find balance? Was I actually really that bad? Maybe I can moderate now. I've learned so much. It's going to be different. All of these things. And I went back to drinking after my 3-month milestone. So that's a really special one to me because of that. And I 100% believed that I was cured. I thought, even though millions of problem drinkers have been trying to cure themselves for thousands of years of their problematic drinking, I was the first one to do it. And I would be successful in controlled drinking. And spoiler, I was not. So I think 3 months is very difficult. I think another tough time is 6 months and a year. Those are other times that thoughts of drinking might pop back up or having balance. So I think the thing that I most want to tell you guys about moderation and like drinking envy and all of it is you can look at other people drinking and you can feel envious or wish that you could do what they're doing. But the most important part is accepting what your drinking is actually like. And for me, I was sober curious for a while, like years, and I was never able to make any progress because I kept the hope alive that I would be able to figure it out and I'd be able to moderate someday. And as soon as I was able to let that hope go and accept that I'll never moderate ever, and my brain just doesn't work that way, I was able to really be free. So I have some episodes that I can put in the description for this about letting go of the hope of drinking again someday, if you want to check those out. But overall, I think working towards acceptance is really important. And for me, I can look at other people and wish that I were like them, but then I can also think about how I would be in that situation and why I just can't drink that way. Like, I'm about to go to Hawaii and I'll probably see people having free cocktails that are pretty and nice, and I'll watch them drinking their drink, and I'll probably feel like a little sad, like, oh, I wish that I could have one of those. And I think one of the tours that we're doing has free alcohol at the end of it, and I'll probably think like, I'm a little sad. I wish that I could participate, but then I can also put myself in that situation and think about what it would actually be like. Where before I was lying to myself and I thought that someday I could be just like those people and learn to take it or leave it. And now I recognize that it would reignite the obsession and cravings, and that I wouldn't be able to think about anything else, and I could have that one small drink for free, and then I'd want 50 more, and that would be my only priority. So I think just try to recognize the truth about your drinking. And there's a question, I wonder why we can't moderate. I explain it in a lot of detail in a few of my episodes. I think the best one to listen to is episode 99. It's called Why We Can Never Drink Ever Again. And then next Friday's episode is all about why we can't moderate. So if you're interested in the science and like why our brains are kind of stuck like this and we can't like learn to control our drinking or learn to be like a take it or leave it drinker, I would check out episode 99, and then I would stay tuned for next Friday and I'll explain it to you. But alcohol can change the brain permanently. And just because you get sober doesn't mean that those pathways in your brain disappear. If you start drinking again, you can reactivate them. So that's why permanent sobriety is the best solution, so that we don't obsess about it and try to control it. And some people can moderate with a lot of work and a lot of resisting cravings and thinking about it and planning and limiting what they do or who they spend time with. But that's not actual moderation. Like, that's not the goal, really. The goal is to not think about it all the time. And even if you can moderate and you can find a way to resist things, you're still obsessing about it all the time and bargaining with yourself and thinking like, can I drink today? I said I wasn't going to. How do I make sure I don't have too much? So even if you're someone who finds that you can stop at 1 or 2, but you still think about it all the time, if you don't drink at all, you don't have to obsess about it all the time. So that has been one of my favorite parts, is my mind is just free. I can do whatever I want to do, and that's it. Does anyone have any questions that you would like me to answer on here? So I will not be live next week because I'll be on vacation, having fun in Hawaii. But I can answer questions now if you have any. I saw a comment about meeting sober friends, and I would say Instagram is a great place to do that, by meeting other people in the comments like this, or making your own sober page. You can also look on Facebook if your nearest city has a sober Facebook group, and meet people that way. You could go to AA or Smart Recovery meetings in real life and meet people that way. My community, I have a space where we all put where we live and try to find people around us. I try to do meetups when I have time, when I travel, to meet people in different locations. But there's lots of different ways to make friends that are sober. And if you're open to friends maybe that just don't drink very much, I think putting yourself out there like at the gym or joining a rock climbing gym or doing things that drinkers aren't going to do, you'll meet people that aren't obsessed with alcohol. I think for me, all I wanted to do was go to the bar or sit around in my house and drink. So I made other friends that just wanted to get drunk all the time. But when you put yourself out there and you start filling your life with other activities, you'll meet people that don't obsess over alcohol and don't want to get drunk all the time. But it's hard. It took me 3 years to find real life sober friends. So it takes time. Don't get discouraged. Keep trying to do it. Any other questions that I can answer for you guys? Any questions about moderation, my vacation to Hawaii? Do you think alcoholism is hereditary? My sisters both drink heavily. My dad died at 52 from booze, and so did my mom at 70. I'm very sorry about your parents, first of all. And yeah, it is. I have an episode on that too. I think it is, I want to say 47, episode 47. It's called Nature versus Nurture. I'll put it in the description, but it is. So it's 50% nature, 50% nurture. And if you grew up with parents that were struggling with their drinking, you got both the nature and the nurture component. So the nature component is our genetics. So that's how you process alcohol. The better that your liver processes it, and the less hangovers you get, or the faster you recover, the more you're going to want to drink. Also, alcohol doesn't feel the same for everybody. If it feels better for you, that comes down to your genetics or your experience with trauma, which can change the brain. How sensitive your brain is to alcohol-induced changes, that's also going to be genetic. your mental health, like if you have depression or anxiety. And then on the nurture side, watching people in your home drink problematically and like learning that behavior. That's a huge component too. That's why it will often run in families, because you have both sides, nature and nurture. If your parents were drinking heavily or your caregivers, they probably didn't have like the best coping skills. So they weren't able to teach you how to effectively cope with your emotions. So then you become an adult and you don't really have the best skills for regulating your emotions and getting through things. So then that makes it easier to drink. I have a mini course that's coming out on August 1st that's all about emotional sobriety and managing our emotions. So that's on my website if you want to join us for that. It's only $15 if you want to participate. But it is definitely both nature and nurture, and it runs in families. So congratulations on being a cycle breaker. And again, I'm very sorry about your parents. That's very, very, very sad. What part of Hawaii are you going to? I can't pronounce a lot of the names. We're doing a cruise, so we're going all over. So we're starting in Honolulu, and then we're going to Maui, and then we're going to Hilo and Kona, and some other places that I can't pronounce. And then we're coming back to Honolulu, so we're kind of doing a tour. But I'm sad because the place that I've always wanted to go to, and here's a book recommendation for you if you need something to do. I wanted to go to the island of Molokai, because I read this book when I was 18 called Molokai, and it's got a very pretty cover. So look it up. You should read it. But that's where the leper colonies were, and I was so fascinated by that story of what happened there and how they sent people there who had leprosy, that I always wanted to visit and learn more about the history, but we're not going there. And it's actually pretty difficult to get there. You can't just like pop over. You have to take like a short flight or a ferry. So it's a big commitment. So we'll have to go to Hawaii again in the future and check out that island. But I think it'll be really fun. I think it's also going to be tiring from all the travel, but super fun. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. Any good books on getting sober? Lots of them. I have a free 3-day email challenge that you can get if you click in the link in my bio. It'll say free 3-day no drinking challenge. I think the first email is like all the books, but Unexpected Joy of Being Sober, that's my favorite. Drinking, a love story. A lot of people like This Naked Mind, Quit Like a Woman. I love Craig Beck, Alcohol Lied to Me. He's amazing. There are so many books, and there's actually a lot of books that are about to come out. In September, Soberish is coming out, and I was actually the guest expert, so my name and quotes from me are like all over the beginning of the book, so you should definitely read that one. And then Dr. Brooke Scheller has a book coming out later on this year, and I read it already, and wow, she's so smart, first of all, like obviously, but her approach to this book was very unique. So I recommend checking that one out too. Any other questions that I can answer for you guys? Oh yes, thank you, Kristen, Dopamine Nation. I can't believe that I forgot that one, because Dr. Anna Lemke was on my podcast twice, and I love her, so thank you. Dopamine Nation, such a good book. The first book that I said was The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. That's amazing. Highly recommend. If you search on Amazon and you type in the word like sober or quitlet or something, then you'll get a lot of books that come up. So there's tons of great books, tons of podcasts, all of it. Last call for questions. I'm also getting my nails done for my trip today, so I'm doing some self-care. So I got to do that shortly, but happy to answer any last-minute questions before I go. Stash, yep, Stash is a great one. We Are the Luckiest and Push Off From Here. Do you have a specific yoga practice to help people get sober? That is not my area of expertise at all. But I would look up Ash from Behind the Smile. She has a lot of yoga. And then Cole Chance. She also does a lot of yoga for recovery. And then Laura McCowan is big into yoga. There's a lot of people. And then there's a podcast, Sober Yoga Girl. So a lot of yoga is just not, I'm a video game person. But a lot of people that do yoga, just not me. Any last minute questions? Now is your time. 1 minute warning. And while I have you guys, also, I'm closing the doors to my community on Wednesday. So if you want to join and you want to get access to our meetings, it's about to close because we're pretty full. So I want to keep our meetings small. And to do that, I have to periodically close the community. So it's going to be closed for a bit. So if you want to join, this is your last opportunity. We also have an emotional sobriety course coming out in there on August 1st. So if you want access to that, meetings, all of it, it's a tiny fraction of what most of us spend on alcohol every month. And thank you guys for the well wishes on my trip. Do you recommend CBD? I like CBD to sleep. I really like the brand Tanasi. They were a former sponsor of my podcast, and they actually help me sleep, which is nice. So when I have like anxiety or something, or my heart's going, it helps me relax and get to sleep. So I use it for that. But I do think it is pretty effective, and I would give it a shot, and I would keep trying different brands. Not every brand is going to work for everybody. I still have friends who ask if I can just have one drink. Ugh. Come on, guys. Even after I tell them I have a problem with alcohol, what is the best way to respond so they get it? I love this question. I got this pushback a lot. And my last straw, I had one person who kept saying it to me, like, I just don't understand why you can't just drink less, or why you can't just have one. And I looked at them and I was like, look, okay, I don't know if I'll censor myself a little bit so that I don't get in trouble on Instagram. But I was like, look, okay, alcohol makes me feel really suicidal and I just can't drink it. Okay? And they never pushed me again. I said it a bit more dramatic than that. But you could do that. You could do something shock value if you're just sick of their crap and you want them to stop. Or what I would say is, like, I really appreciate your concern. However, I've told you many times that I'm not drinking anymore and we are not going to discuss it. So I would appreciate it if you stop bringing it up. I would just refuse to talk about it to them. Every time they want to bring it up, you can say, I've already explained this to you. This is not up for discussion. Thank you. If you continue to bring it up, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. Something like that. But eventually people get the point and they leave you alone, I hope. I had a lot of pushback in my first 6 weeks. And then people got the point and they stopped caring and they moved on. It stopped being like a new, interesting change. So I hope that helps. Just set the boundary and don't continue to discuss it with them, because every time you keep discussing it, you're showing them that it is up for discussion. So you need to just, nope, I've already explained it to you. And that's the end. And yes, shout out to all the cat lovers and the people that listen to my podcast. But yeah, I love a cat lover. I love when you guys send me pictures of your cats. And I appreciate how much you guys like Rudy Patootie. He's asleep right now in his Skinny Pop box. Otherwise, he'd be here howling. And thank you all so much for joining today and asking questions. And I'm going to try to go live once a week after my vacation. So if you're wondering when I'm going to go live, it'll be scheduled on my page, like days or a week in advance, and then you can just RSVP. So look out for that, and then stay tuned to my stories to see Hawaii pictures. I'll be sharing a lot. We're going to a volcano. We're going to walk on like old lava, which is cool. We're going to waterfalls. We're going to do a coffee tour. A lot of fun things. And also, I've always struggled with like body confidence on vacations and wearing like just the same few outfits every time because I feel so uncomfortable. And this time I bought a lot of new clothes that I feel really confident in. So I'm excited that I have so many options, and I think that that is just another gift of sobriety, is feeling comfortable in our own bodies and learning to like ourselves. So look out for all my cool outfits too. And the kimonos will be going on the trip with me. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the nice wishes about my trip. And I will talk to you very soon.